Is the road to $3,000 gold paved with digital gold? Some people think it is. We're seeing an emergence of new technologies from the state of Texas, from China, but there's still a strong contention of silver stackers and gold stackers that will fervently argue, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Today, we're fortunate to be joined by our good friend, Coin Shop Chris. He and I don't necessarily agree on this subject, and that's okay. We're going to talk about this emerging technology, gold-backed digital currencies, what it could mean for the silver and gold market, and if it's something that should be considered possibly adopted by the gold and silver stacking community. Chris, welcome to Ron's Basement.
Oh, thank you again for having me back, Ron. It's always a pleasure.
The pleasure is always ours. We appreciate your insights. You bring us a unique perspective of what's going on in the gold and silver community. So, Chris, I know you just love cryptocurrencies and paper money and electronic money. I'm just joking, How do you feel about these new gold-backed digital currencies? Do you have any thoughts on that, sir?
Yeah, I actually do, Ron. We talked many times about this in the past, off camera here, and I would like to know if they actually have the silver or gold. I mean, if we put in, let's say, $10,000 each, we talked, the banks were supposed to be regulated. Are these bullion banks actually going to be regulated in 5-10 years from now? We don't know. I mean, I'm a strong believer, if you don't hold it, you don't own it. Why are we trusting other people with our money? That's where I'm at with it.
Right. And I totally respect that. And I agree with you. I think that's a critical component to any gold or silver backed digital currency, that it's transparent, right? That it's audited, that it's regulated by some authority that can actually be trusted. I know, like in Texas, the comptroller for the state of Texas, they have their own depository that they've built, and that in theory, that comptroller would be in charge of ensuring that for each of these digital gold tokens, whatever you want to call it, digital gold money, that there would be a certain amount of gold in the vault. But I agree with you. That's critically important to this whole thing. I think that from a utility perspective, and allowing people, like the people that are watching us right now, to use gold and silver in their everyday lives, I think that if it works, it could be a big boom for the gold and silver market. It would allow people to store some of their wealth in gold and silver, but at the same time, use it for paying their everyday bills. And possibly, right, if it took off, let's say in Texas, and it spread even more throughout the rest of the country, that it could create a big, huge spike in demand for gold and silver. But at the end of the day, like you say, if you don't hold it, you don't own it.
Well, exactly. Before we go any further with this, I would like to ask everybody to like, share, and subscribe. We're doing very, very well. I would like to see a 30% ratio to the watch. Everybody just tap that like button to get the information out.
You want me to ring the bell? You want me to ring the bell?
Ring the bell. Let everybody ring the bell.
All right, guys. If you give this video a thumbs up, I'm going to ring the bell. Go ahead. Do it. Okay. Thank you. All right.
Thank you, everybody.
I appreciate you bringing that up, Chris.
I see something where, if we have to use our silver and gold as payment, why not take it to your local coin shop, then put it on the card, and you do it in small amounts. Same thing like you're going to a bank. You're just going to a different type of store. It's going to a coin shop. And the coin shop would have to pay XYZ amount, whatever the fair market value plus the premium. This would be the same thing as going to a bank.
Yeah, so you're proposing like some type of service where you have a card, like a debit card type card, where maybe there's a network of coin shops, thousands, maybe not even just coin shops, but different locations where you could bring your physical metal, convert it, and have it loaded onto the card so that you could use it for buying groceries, use it for paying bills. Is that the idea?
Exactly. And there might be a fee with that, but it might be a small fee conversion rate. But I mean, it's like if we travel across the world, there's a conversion rate from dollar to different currencies.
Mhm.
So I don't have a problem having a problem with that. I mean, this is if gold and silver really take off and gold gets to 2,500, we get Smitty the Silver Bear to get our silver to $85 an ounce. We're not going to have a problem with a 1-2% conversion rate.
Right, right.
That's the simplest way I see it happening. But I don't have a crystal ball. Nobody does. It's just going to be a thing to see what happens down the road. But I just, me and banks, I'm sorry. I mean, I don't think you trust banks, Sean. So why would we trust a Bowen Bank?
Right. Well, I would be inclined, I want to make this clear. I think this is another key point that we need to consider in this whole debate, Chris, is just because a gold-backed digital currency comes into existence, right? And it does allow, let's say, people like me, I don't think you, because I don't think at this point you're going to trust it, which is fine, right? We're all have our own opinions and comfort levels. But like for people that do want to use it, it's not going to preclude or eliminate their ability to still keep metal and stack metal at home. Maybe they put just a little bit of their money onto it because that's the money that they need to use to pay their rent or their mortgage or their car payment or buy groceries or whatever the case may be. I think it's not like it has to be an all or nothing type arrangement. People would still be free, silver stackers and gold stackers would still be free to keep whatever they want at their house. Hold it, right? If I don't hold it, I don't own it, right? Which is completely understandable.
Then we come into a risk. I know the government didn't take everybody's silver, but they took the gold. Let's say everybody that is a subscriber to your channel, Ron, we all deposit 5 ounces of gold. Let's go with gold because they did confiscate that. They're not coming to your house. They're not coming to my house. They're going to go to Chris's coin shop, Bowen Bank, and take everybody's gold away. If the government really wants money quick, they can confiscate it with one shot. There's a risk in there.
Right.
Risk.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think they're going to come to individual homes because that's too many people. There's too many houses too. I don't think that's going to happen. That did not happen before. What they said was turn over your gold or you're going to have a fine and 10 years in prison. So, and a lot of people did turn it over back then because everybody trusted the government back then. But that's one thing I see that could happen with these banks, where the government actually comes in and says, we want all the gold. Or they might say, you got silver too, we will take that too.
Right, right. But I mean, you still have to recognize that risk is still there, that even and I agree with you, it's minimal, but there's that risk that the government could say you need to turn in all your silver and gold that you hold on your person. And the risk is even there, minimal, absolutely, that they could come to your house. And if they believe that you have some silver, gold, that they could come to your house and demand that you give it up.
They could. Right. And you also can get robbed at your home.
Right.
And yes, you can have a fire in your home too, but even if you did have a fire in your home, that silver and gold is still going to be there, just not in that form, most likely.
Yeah.
Because you cannot destroy silver and gold.
No.
It's just going to be a different form.
When I think about this, what I think is I love silver. I love gold. When I think, and I know there's people that have this vision of Armageddon, and we're walking around with our 1 ounce silver coins and using it to buy, food for the week or whatever the case may be. And that, you can't rule that out, no doubt about it. But when I look at the other scenarios that could unfold in the future, that maybe aren't quite so dire, I think that if silver and gold are going to be continued to be used as a store of value like they have for thousands of years, that there's gonna have to be some type of electronic option. Again, that doesn't eliminate the fact that yes, still you could walk around with your 1 ounce of silver and go to the coin shop, and or that it would, that's not going to eliminate that primary value that silver and gold represent. That if you had to, if things did get bad, that you could use it to go buy food for a couple days for your family, trade it, whatever, barter with it. But if we don't go down that path, and I think most of us hope that we don't, and the future does unfold in a less dire way, that if we want silver and gold to be utilized as the store of value that we all believe that it is, there's going to have to be some type of electronic version of it. And I promise I'm going to shut up soon. But the key is that it's transparent, and that it's regulated, and that it's trustworthy, right? At some point, there's going to have to be some level of trust involved, and that the metal's actually there. Now, I know in Texas, what they're proposing is, yeah, you can use, it's going to be gold initially, as use it for your everyday transactions, but you can show up at any time and convert your digital currency in for real gold, and that they, by law, will have to have all that gold there. Sorry, I rambled on, but I think that if we're going to see gold and silver maintain and flourish, even more importantly in the future, that we're going to have some type. Now, I'm not talking about cryptocurrency, right? There's a big difference, and we're going to get into that, but I'm going to let you talk for a moment.
Well, I do agree to some point of a digital gold in silver. I get what you're saying. It's going to be like on some kind of debit card, credit card, what have you. But I just that's why I see like a coin shop or a different type of store transferring it to small amounts at a time. So if you need to go get food, who's saying these stores may not take even physical gold or silver? That might possibly happen too in some of these states that have these species laws. That's possible too. I mean, or you're selling something, and I say, Ron, I'll buy that gold beer off here for a half ounce of silver, and you say, deal, Chris. I mean, we can transact that way. Or you go mow your neighbor's lawn and say, I'm going to charge you an ounce of silver for this job.
And, yeah, but I can do that now. I can do that.
You can do that now. Yes, you could do that now.
I can do that. And that's what I think is exciting about legitimate gold-backed digital currency, is that it would allow people, not just me cutting my neighbor's grass for an ounce of silver, or finding the particular small business out there that'll agree to let me, the plumber that comes and does work at my house, that I pay 30 ounces of silver or something like that. But that a legitimate digital currency like Texas is doing, like China, there was some big news last night, overnight, about China and what they're doing with gold and their bank accounts over there, that it would allow a much broader usage of gold and silver at Walmart, at Walgreens, at Home Depot, at McDonald's, wherever. That I can't go to McDonald's, and I mean, they'd look at me crazy, right, if I went there with an ounce of silver.
Right now, yes.
First Mining Gold is a development company advancing two of the largest gold projects in Canada. Springpole in Ontario and Duparquet, located in Quebec, each already has 5 million ounces of gold reserves, but exploration initiatives are underway at both projects to find even more gold. First Mining is well financed, has zero debt, and owns an interest in 4 additional Canadian gold development projects.
You know, if things get really tough, you might see these companies or small business or even a big business will have separate lines like they do now for self-checkout, credit card only. And they might have a separate line and say, okay, you bring an ounce of silver in, and let's just say call it $50, right? It's right now. Let's just call it $50. They could either put it on a gift card. You don't use it all. Well, you still got the balance on the gift card. You know, you could see that something play out like that. You know, I just, I would not put a ton of my wealth into these banks. You know, I really see your point, Ron. I do. I mean,
Sure.
I do agree with you that we're going to have some kind of electronically to pay for stuff. But again, we got to keep in mind, can we lose power? Yes. Can the internet go out? Yes. We're going to have a separate form when those scenarios come in place, like a hurricane down south and ice storm up north, or what have you.
Right.
You know, so I mean,
I think if we're going to have broad adoption of gold and silver, it's going to have to be on some electronic form that will be legitimately backed. If we're going to have broad adoption, I agree with you 100% too. And I agree with you, right? Yeah, the power could go out. I mean, if we're talking Armageddon, I am not going to want to have all of my precious metals in a bullion bank somewhere or a depository in Texas, right? But that's the other thing, and I think that's key to remember is nobody's saying you have to put all your metals into this. No, maybe some rich guy has $100,000 worth of silver and gold, and he wants to use 10% of it or whatever for paying his bills. He's not going to put everything in there, right? He'll probably hold on.
I lost you.
To put everything into it. You can still be a stacker. You can still be prepared for Armageddon.
Exactly. I mean, you know what I'm thinking. You brought up another good point. Is no, you're right. You don't want to put it all in one bank. But now I lost my train of thought like I normally do. But
oh, you're fine.
We kind of lost contact there for a minute.
Yeah.
But now I lost my train of thought.
Well, let me throw this out as well that I think is important. I think a lot of stackers, when they hear like what Texas is doing, gold-backed digital currency, they think crypto, they think Bitcoin, they think Ethereum, they think Dogecoin, they think whatever. And there's a huge, huge difference. Gold-backed digital currency, like Texas is proposing, is nothing to do with crypto, right? I mean, when you look at Bitcoin, what backs Bitcoin, right? Nothing, right? Oh, but it's limited in supply. There's only so many that are ever going to be made. Well, that's great. I don't really care because you know what? That's nothing, right? I mean, if that's a make-believe silver coin right there, Chris, right? And I say, I'm going to give you 1,000 of them, or I say, I'm going to give you 1,000,000 of them. Does it make any difference? Because what am I giving you?
Nothing.
Yeah, right.
I mean, Bitcoin to me is like a fake silver gold coin. It's worthless.
Yeah.
I know, we kind of took a poll about a week ago, Ron, and we asked people if a little unicorn showed up at your house at night. Only 2% of your subscribers put crypto or Bitcoin, whatever. I think it was crypto that we put in there. And if someone's really going to get offended by we talking bad about Bitcoin, maybe Ron's Bates, it's not the channel for you. Go find yourself a Bitcoin channel or a crypto channel. We don't come on to those channels and brag about silver and gold, being up or being down or just whatnot. I mean, these people who put these in. Go ahead, Ron.
Well, I'm not anti-Bitcoin, but when I just look at the fact that any of the cryptos that have no real backing whatsoever, they're, to me, just me personally, right? And I know there's smart people that think differently. I respect that. That's great. But to me, it's nothing. And you can tell me there's only going to be 10,000 of them, 100 million, a million, billion, trillion. I don't care. If it's still nothing, it's still nothing. It doesn't matter what you multiply it by or divide it by or anything else. If it's zero, it's zero. And that's a big difference with these gold-backed digital currencies. Again, that they will have the actual backing. State law in Texas, and maybe I'm naive, but I have a good feeling about the legal system in Texas and the upstandmanship of the comptroller, that they're going to have all the gold in their depository that will back up this cryptocurrency, and even China's making moves overnight. They had some new banking law they changed where people can basically seamlessly transfer money between their bank accounts and their gold savings accounts. I mean, this is the wave of the future, and I think if it's done properly, again, it's not going to stop you and me from keeping silver or gold in our houses, but it has the potential to be very, very good for the silver and gold community.
And I agree. Like I said, Ron, there will be some kind of digital gold, silver currency. Yes. If we all ran to the bank today, every single one of us in the whole country, there's not going to be enough cash in the bank to get our deposits out. How do we know down the line that these bullion banks are not going to start doing what the banks are doing, going to the casino and saying, we're going to buy this stock, we're going to buy this stock with the people's gold? We don't know that.
But what if they're audited, and what if it's transparent and you can see, every 3 months, or they are legally required. Like the banks legally can do what they do. The banks legally can do what they did, right? First Republic Bank didn't really break any laws, right? These banks were legally, they were within the confines of the law with what they were doing. Texas is going to say, for every single one of these pieces of digital currency that are created, there has to be the gold in the depository. So that everybody did show up, and you can show up, that's their law. If this gets all approved and passes, you can show up anytime and get your gold, right? So that everybody could show up and get their gold. I mean, it could be, Chris, I know I understand, right? Well, what if somebody steals it? What if, but that's kind of like saying, what if somebody breaks into some stacker's house and steals their gold and silver? That's a risk too, right? I mean, that's always a possibility.
And what I was going to say, just before you kind of sparked my brain again here,
Uh-huh.
I would feel more comfortable having an allocated account, meaning if you wanted to put in 60 silver eagles, an allocated account, meaning that's going to be your silver you actually get back if you want to sell it or you want them to ship it back to you. I would have a hard time saying, okay, Chris's Coin Shop Bowling Bank, here is 60 silver eagles, and you give me all BU eagles. When you want to come back in, if it's not allocated, I'm giving you call eagles back. Allocated is the best way to go, in my opinion. There might be a fee for that too. There's fees for everything. But if you don't want to store it at home, an allocated account, meaning what you put in, those are the same exact coins or bars you're going to get back. They have your name on them, and someone else is just holding them.
But
and you
then
can call up you can call up Chris's Coin Shop and say, Chris, I want 60 my silver eagles. I know you got 150 of them. And I say, do you want to sell them, or do you want me to ship them to you? If they want to sell them, we can do a wire transfer right then and there. Boom. Transaction's done.
Yeah. I don't, and I guess I'm looking at it from a different perspective of what most people would be, wouldn't turn in if somebody has some really, BU quality, American Silver Eagles that they would, that would have a higher premium associated with them. They wouldn't be turning them into a bullion bank. If that makes sense. That would be,
Right.
like I said, I don't think people are gonna turn in like, oh wow, Texas has a digital currency, I'm gonna dump all my silver or all my gold with them. I think, and I look at it from the perspective of a lot of people would be using this from the functionality and utility perspective as well, meaning they know they're going to spend that money anyway on their mortgage or their car payment or whatever the case may be. That,
Right. So I'm sorry, Ron.
No, it's
so
okay. Go ahead.
So what you're saying is, let's say you and I each took 10 grand.
Yeah.
And we call up a bullion bank, and they go out there to the market and they buy the silver and gold. I see that point. They're probably not gonna buy the crispy, the shiniest coins around. They're probably gonna get a block of silver, and divide it up to your account and say, okay, Ron's got this, Chris got this much, boom, 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 and we start spending that. Yeah, that's fine. I don't see a problem with that. But what I see a problem is I'll say this again. I know I'll repeat it, Chris here. The government could come in one day and say, we're shutting this down. We're confiscating everything.
Right.
And nobody's
they
gonna
could
get
do that, but they could do that to you on a personal level as well.
They could.
Right. Right.
But they have to find it first. They have to find it first.
Right. Right. I know. I mean, I understand, right? I completely understand what you're saying, that, right. There's a centralized depository. I think that'd
be the first place. That would be the first place they go, Ron. They're not going to come to your house or my house. That'd be the first place they go.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
I mean, because they know they have it.
It's an interesting conversation, and I'm glad we had it, right? Because that's how we learn, is from considering other people's perspectives. And it shows that even within the gold and silver enthusiast arena, and you and I are good friends, we can learn from each other, and at times maybe not see things exactly the same, that there's always some room for us to grow.
That's right, Ron. We don't have to agree on every single issue about silver and gold stocks or what have you.
Right.
This was a friendly debate. This was not a nasty debate by any means. I think you see my point. I see a lot of your points. So, I mean, yes, this could happen. What you're thinking could happen.
Mm-hmm.
So, I mean, maybe I gotta see it actually in the work before I am a 100% on board with it.
Right. Right. Yep. And the Armageddon type situation could possibly happen, right? I mean, we could go back to living like we were in the 1800s, for instance. And yeah, you need to walk around with some silver or gold to get food for the day, like they did in the 1800s.
Here's one more thought. Maybe you don't know the answer to this question, but that's okay, Ron.
Uh-huh.
Why do you see a lot of older coins with holes in them?
I don't know.
What was the reason for that?
I don't know.
Back in those days, the guys mostly worked back in the 1800s.
Right.
But they didn't have pockets. So what they did was, in their suits, because everybody wore a suit back then, they tied a string in, and inside the suit, they put their quarter or dime so they don't lose it. That's why you see a lot of the older coins have a hole in them, because they didn't want to lose their money. And a dime back then, a quarter back then was a lot of money back then.
Interesting. Very interesting.
So there's a tip for you.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I'll start drilling holes in my coins if my pockets don't work any longer.
Only if you got holes in your pockets.
Right. Don't want to lose any silver coins. Chris,
Exactly.
as always, thank you. On behalf of all the viewers, I want to say thank you. I think we We covered a lot of interesting things and looked at things from a different perspective. The viewers right now also probably have a different perspective on this than you and I, and that's okay as well. We'll invite them to leave a comment in the comment section below. We can keep the debate alive down there. Do you think gold-backed digital currencies are good for the precious metal sector? Or are you just a pure hardcore, if you don't hold it, you don't own it? Or are you somewhere in the middle? Let us know below. Chris, anything you want to wrap up with?
No, I think you hit it all, Ron. I mean, the viewers are awesome on your channel. Like I said before, I interact with a few of them, many of them. You know, your channel's growing and we like to keep it going.
That sounds good. Chris, thank you very much, and we'll talk to you soon.
And we'll catch you next time, Ron.
All right, bye-bye.
Bye-bye.